The DC-8 series was a first-generation jetliner developed and built by Douglas in the late 1950s and throughout the 1960s to compete with Boeing and their 707 series in the early days of the jet age. Today we take a look at Aerosoft's rendition of the Douglas DC-8-50 and put it to the test to see if it's worth adding to a virtual jet hangar. Developed by Michael Stepanda, this is his first aircraft as the lead developer of a project, meaning we'll also get a chance to look deep into his first step into the flight simulation world. There are two installers that this product comes with, one for 32-bit simulators and another for 64 bits. Select your chosen simulator, input your activation key, and the rest of the installation is automated. In the root directory Aerosoft DC-8 folder, you get a total of 6 PDF documents covering the tutorial, checklists, and SIVA for the aircraft, as well as a support folder for XML animations and the aircraft uses. As with all Aerosoft tutorials, each one is checked and signed off by the lead developer, in this case Stepanda himself, giving you his assurance of quality. The tutorial of the DC-8 in particular is 33 pages long and covers absolutely everything with the aircraft, from starting cold and dark right to securing the aircraft after landing. This I found very helpful in learning how to use the aircraft, as well as operating the SIVA that it comes with. Aerosoft has modelled the DC-8-50 series aircraft, and their likeness to the real thing is fantastic. Each detail, panel and texture has been defined through bump mapping across the body, as well as around 200 small textures defined and placed up and down the body. These can especially be seen when looking up close to the model, where these details are crisp and clear. Text and decals can also be read without any issue. As is the norm with most modern add-ons, the cabin interior has also been 3D modelled and is visible from the outside of the aircraft through transparent windows. This gives it a real sense of depth, and by giving the aircraft a cabin to look through, when flying from third person, it does also give you that extra bit of eye candy, which is always appreciated. The grey smoke coming out of the Pratt & Whitney JT3D engines are also a very nice touch and puts the name Cigarette Jet into the simulator as well. Known as this for the thick smoke trails that the engines left behind while at full throttle, the small attention to detail that the add-on has really puts the spirit of the DC-8 into the simulator. When flying at night, the exterior of the aircraft also lights up accordingly, and the interior cabin also produces a small amount of light, as well as the cockpit glowing. Anti-collision lights also reach out across the wing and give it a much more dynamic feeling, despite these textures being baked into the wing. I'm not sure if this is an issue for me using FSX or if the textures haven't loaded in properly, but sometimes the strobe lights do appear to have a small red box surrounding them. I believe this may be down to the fact that P3D version 4 has HDR lighting, and so the boxes do hide, but for me at least, they don't appear as they should across multiple flights. The model is really easy and light to run. I've managed this up to 60 FPS in unpopulated areas when using the external camera. This means that you won't be dealing with too much lagging issues when flying from third person, especially while looking down at the world below. There are 7 liveries included in this aircraft. These are November 8035 Uniform United Airlines, Papa Hotel Delta Charlie Tango KLM, Echo Charlie Alpha Romeo Charlie Iberia, Charlie Foxtrot Charlie Papa Mike CP Air, November 8008 Delta Lufthansa, November 820 Delta Airlines, and Lima November Mike Oscar Hotel Scanair or Scandinavian as they're now known. All textures have been made with full 4K resolution, really bringing out the details of each livery and making the aircraft look almost lifelike. Main textures are also separate and also have their own files of various sizes. While most add-ons use a texture sheet and reference each texture based on coordinates on this file, the DC-8 instead has a folder filled with each individual texture for warning lights, flip guards and more. This is not a method used in too many ESP based simulators due to heavy loading times as well as negative VAS usage, but in this instance, it has been really well managed and adds to the experience rather than taking away from it. In all, there are almost 600 separate texture files just for this aircraft alone. The modelling and texturing of the aircraft are both phenomenal and are up there with some of the best aircraft on this platform. The cockpit of the Douglas Aerosoft DC-8 is an in-depth recreation of the real thing. You get a fully rendered and functional captain, first officers and flight engineers deck, as well as detailing across the entire cockpit. Each switch, knob and button has also been 3D modelled and animated to match out the real thing. I do absolutely love the massive gear lever protruding from the centre of the panel. While most modern aircraft require you to lean forward to move a small little stick, the DC-8 instead had a foot-long lever that reached as far back as the co-pilot seat, making it for easier management at the time, albeit blocking some of the controls from the right-hand seat. Flying in P3D version 4, you also get TFDI Design's True Glass technology, enabling you to see dynamic raindrops and effects on the windshield as you fly, adding again to the true to life feeling of the aircraft. At night, the cockpit does also look fantastic. You have the ability to turn on either the dome or panel lights, and depending on your setup, the cockpit does look fab. I personally turn on the dome light once flying above 10,000 feet, which does make things a little easier to find, but even when the cockpit is plunged into darkness, turning on the panel lights does make for a rather fun experience. Overall, the cockpit of the Aerosoft DC-8 has been beautifully constructed, and it really does immerse you into the seat of the aircraft. The Douglas DC-8 required a 3-man crew, and this is really reflected in the model. Each switch, knob and lever are functional within the cockpit, including that on the engineer's bay. This means that when starting up your engines and managing your fuel flow, you'll need to switch your camera viewpoints back and forth in order to get everything going. The DC-8 also features an original Seaver instrument navigation system, which Aerosoft has modelled into the cockpit. Setting it up can be quite difficult, especially as this aircraft does come from a time before aircraft were equipped with flight management computers, but once you do get the hang of it and program it enough times, it does start to stick in your mind. Loading the flight plan into your aircraft is done via one of two ways, either through the virtual cockpit itself, or via the flight plan loader window by pressing Shift 2. What you want to do is set the Seaver into waypoint modes. This is where you can then input your flight coordinates in the place of waypoints, building up your flight plan up to a maximum of 9 waypoints at a time. Using the little spin wheel, you can then select a waypoint and insert your coordinates. This automatically stores within the aircraft navigation database, and once you fly over the location, the aircraft will then head to its next leg or next waypoint you've set. The altitude alerter is also very helpful in warning you that you're about to reach a certain altitude. When climbing, it will beep at you once you approach cruise, allowing you to level off the aircraft. The same can be done as you descend, alerting you as you reach your next designated altitude. I must also give a mention to the weather radar too. This is fully functional and simulated into the aircraft. Whether you're using default, active sky or any other tool for the weather, the aircraft will take data directly from the simulator and display this onto the map. The green glow from the display, with the added green spinning line, does also make for a system that really tries to fit the period, and does this very well. I know that some companies do like to put in a fake weather radar, and does take away from the functionality of the cockpit somewhat, but Aerosoft in this case have expertly produced this into their aircraft. Personally, I am far from perfect with this way of flying, but over time I have practiced enough to get a couple of flights in, and this did take a lot of hard work. The DC-8 is a very manual aircraft, and you are required to micromanage for the whole duration of your flights. Overall, the systems and functionality that Aerosoft brings to the table with this add-on are expertly done, and if you do like your early jet era aircraft, then you are definitely going to love the feel of flying this plane. I absolutely love the sound of the Aerosoft DC-8. From the cockpit, The harmonics from the engines really gives me the sense of flying an early days jetliner. Licensed from audio experts Turbine Sound Studios, this for me may be one of their all-time best sound sets produced. The high quality recordings from all over the aircraft really do come together to give you a really immersive experience, something I absolutely adore when flying. The Pratt & Whitney JT3D-3B engines gave a low-tone scream rather than a buzzsaw at full throttle, and this has been expertly recreated by TSS from both the interior and exterior. Each knob and switch in the cockpit has got its own sound defined, as well as flaps, gear and alarms, also to sound authentic to the experience of flying a DC-8. My only complaint would be with the stick shaker, as the sound loop is only about 2 seconds long and there is an audible jump that can be heard. Extending it by a couple more seconds would definitely not go amiss, but then again, who really is here to store their aircraft? The majority of people in the Aerosoft community have voiced their content at the sounds this aircraft comes with, and for me, they are very fitting with the add-on, giving it a positive overall rating. The DC-8 was controlled with direct cable linkage and was a very heavy aircraft to control. This is simulated in the Aerosoft add-on and can make it rather sluggish to control at times. Its massive wings also generated a lot of lift, and as a result, without proper trimming, you are also fighting the pitch. Without any auto throttle, pitch, speed and altitude, management is also key. The higher you climb, the harder it is to gain speed, and as a result, increases your chances of stalling, something I have found out the hard way. Once above 38,000 feet, I found the DC-8 almost impossible to climb more than 200 feet per minute, and once at surface ceiling of 42,000, it basically wouldn't go up anymore without your speed becoming critically low. Expect the aircraft to also float on your first few landings. As mentioned above, the wings do generate a lot of lift, and as a result, you do need your time to learn how to fare perfectly before you glide halfway down the runway. You could not operate the speed brakes while in flight or so, meaning that you would have to operate with thrust reversers to slow the aircraft down, even while airborne. While today, this system would never get certified, it was something that the DC-8 originally did as part of its speed management. Overall, the Aerosoft DC-8 does give you a different experience when flying, and is one that I have very much enjoyed. Overall, I have enjoyed my time with the Aerosoft DC-8. It's a very fun aircraft to fly, and it can really take the toll on you, especially within your first couple of flights. Now that I have gotten the hang of many of its features, flying the DC-8 is both very rewarding and fun. No FMC, no auto throttle, no altitude hold. Real flying, as they used to say. Priced at €45, it's also far from the most expensive add-on for FSX and P3D. You also get both installers in one, and it doesn't make use of the infamous P3D tax that some developers use. This in some cases can definitely make the DC-8 a bargain if this is the type of aircraft you enjoy flying. As I have said throughout this review, if you're into your early days of jetliners and want an aircraft with 4 systems simulated from the time, then this is definitely something worth adding to your virtual hangar. If you're also thinking about going for something a little older and want to deviate from the modern jets that you usually see from these developers, then you too should also definitely consider purchasing this DC-8, as the guidance it comes with can teach even the newest of simmers on how to use the systems and controls that the aircraft comes with. Flying the Aerosoft DC-8 has been a joy, and this is something I do definitely recommend to fly.